2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, granitegrok.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from granitegrok.com.
Grok Talk.
Welcome back to Grok Talk. Thanks to Jennifer Robideau and, of course, Jane Cormier for coming in to talk to us about some life issues. Our co-writer, Don Ewing, is still here talking about the Muslim terrorism issue we had last segment. Make sure you check that out if you missed it. And, as always, thanks to CNHT, Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers, for allowing us to use this spacious room in the middle of their offices to do our program every week we feel like it.
and Don, of course, is big on gun control. He can shoot really straight.
Yeah. What are you talking about? All right. Well, let's talk about gun control because we have some guests on the phone. We have Dan Francisco and Alex Roubian, and they're coming to talk to us as representatives of the New Jersey Second Amendment Society about some recent videos they've released, undercover videos on the problems with getting a concealed carry license in the state of New Jersey. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. This is Alexander. Most of the country vaguely understands how anti-Second Amendment New Jersey really is. However, they don't really understand the process that we have to go through. 48 other states basically allow you to go in and apply if you have an application process at all. But you were talking about concealed carry applications. The permits that we were being blatantly discriminated against were actually just for a firearm identification card, which just allows you to buy a long gun. And we launched this investigation in response to the murder of Carol Bound, who was the 5-foot woman that was murdered by her psychotic ex-boyfriend while she was literally waiting for permission from the government of New Jersey on how to defend herself.
All right, you had 2 videos released. You're releasing another one real soon, is that correct?
Yeah, we're releasing another one this weekend.
Excellent, and we'll look forward to seeing the link to that so we can post it in conjunction with this interview.
Absolutely. You can find it on our YouTube channel at NJQAS, if you just search that on YouTube. Also, our website is NJ2AS.com, and we're posting them on the homepage.
I've watched some of the videos, and it looks to me, basically, like there's just... Let me rephrase this. You have a governor, he's the chief executive, and he has an attorney general, and they're pretty much responsible for ensuring or guaranteeing the equal application of the law. And having watched the video, it occurs to me that that's just not happening.
Yeah, absolutely not. This is Daniel, by the way. The important thing to illustrate with this state and this process is twofold. What Alexander just described is, what we were trying to do. But the important thing to note here is that when you go from police department to police department here in New Jersey, and all applications of any kind start at the municipal police department, not only do these individual departments themselves not understand the law and misapply it and often break the law, requiring things that are not part of what's spelled out by our legislators as requirements, but on top of that, they are all horribly inconsistent. We can go to one police department and they'll tell us that you need X, Y, and Z, and go to a second police department with the same person, they'll say, I'm just not going to give you a gun. The first video is a great example of that, in that a gentleman who is disabled, had a spinal cord injury from an accident, goes in to speak to a detective in Orange, New Jersey, and the detective, thinking that we were just going to have a discussion about the delays in getting a permit, openly starts boasting how he's denied elderly women, how he's denied men who have gone to see a psychiatrist. Now, granted, was not in a mental institution or anything like that, was not adjudicated mentally ill. He just confessed that he had seen a psychiatrist and then was denied. He's openly denying small women and blatantly says it's not their fault, they're females, but I can't have them have guns. So what we're getting at is this gentleman who, with this disability, was told by this detective that he would be denied. Meanwhile, he's an undercover reporter who holds a firearms ID card in another town and shoots competitively. So it's not only that the laws are very restrictive, but that the police departments and the courts are then given this free rein to do whatever they please inconsistently. And that's really the terror that we deal with here in New Jersey.
No, I was reading some notes you guys had. There's 9 million citizens in the state and only, 2,000 issued carry permits? Is that correct?
That's correct. And the only people that are given those permits and that includes retired law enforcement who do have the ability to get those permits. So out of 9 million people, of under 2,000, that's retired law enforcement, and then friends of politicians. If you happen to be connected to a state senator, a mayor, we actually have more content that we've yet to release where we discuss how prosecutors and judges in court joke about how they are the only ones that have permits as other citizens are in court trying to get a permit. So that's going to be part of the message as well, that these permits are non-existent in New Jersey. But the problem is we bill ourselves as a May-issue state. The NRA bills us as a May-issue state. However, you'll see that it is impossible to get a permit. No civilian will ever get one.
That's I don't even know how to phrase that because, I'm in New Hampshire. And we have a few circumstances that we're beginning to address where people are coming out and saying, because they were very openly in support of legislation to get rid of our carry license, which we do have, the pistol revolver license. But generally, it's it's chief by chief by chief. It's pretty easy. I mean, you walk in, you give them $10 or whatever, and you get your license. It's not a big deal. We all carry at least half of us have guns right now on our persons. It's not really a big deal here. But some chiefs have started to demonstrate that discrimination where they say, we're not going to give you a permit because we feel like it. So. Our answer has always been obviously legislative solutions. I don't know if that's an option for you guys. Is this your only recourse to just make it so public that everybody else stands up and says, hey, stop that?
Yes, it is. The main issue here also is why hasn't Governor Christie acted on this? We've been telling him for over 5 years now about the problems and all the issues we're dealing with on the town level, and for him to say there's nothing he can do, is misrepresents the whole issue and is not being genuine. To say that he can either write a letter to the Attorney General, which they notify the police department to follow the law, and this is the law. If I were to accidentally go out and leave the house because I misunderstood the law and carried my gun, I would be arrested and be serving 10 years in prison. But when the police and the government of New Jersey do it, they're given they're given impunity. So why is it that we get treated like second-class citizens, but they can just stomp all over our rights? Forget about the constitutional issue. This is blatant discrimination. I mean, this is what we documented over and over and over again in all different towns. So the big message is to build a groundswell here of attention to really force Governor Christie to act on this. Because if he's telling people that he doesn't have the ability just to write a letter to these police chiefs and say, knock the crap out, issue people their permits, then we don't know what he's going to potentially do if he ever became president.
That's a good question. Certainly, Chris Christie, as he's been up here in New Hampshire quite a bit, and it seems like the establishment GOP is coming out for him like the barbarian horde all of a sudden. He has made efforts to say, well, look, I am pro-gun. I got rid of that restriction on 50 cal not machine guns, but 50 cal rifles, and he's tried to make it sound like he's a second amender up here. So what would you say to especially the conservatives who we really do reach here at Granite Rock and Grok Talk? What would you tell them about what you think Chris Christie is all about, and why do you think he's trying to play the game of, well, he's doing one thing, his actions as one thing in New Jersey, but he's saying other things to us here in New Hampshire and across the nation?
Well, let's put it this way. The genesis of Chris Christie's political career was in 1993 when he ran for a state assembly position against the candidate, Michael Patrick Carroll, who is still serving in our state Senate, who is a known libertarian maverick in our state, one of the few lone libertarian voices in New Jersey, in a sea of statism. He ran on the very principle that he was against the assault weapons ban back in 1993. He was for the assault weapons ban back in 1993. Michael Patrick Carroll was for it, and this is the attack ad that he put out. It's a famous piece of literature that is sort of a legend here in New Jersey in the Second Amendment community, and recently came up actually on an interview, I believe, with Bret Baier on Fox News. That is something that he hasn't been able to escape. Now, in his tenure as governor, he's had multiple opportunities to make changes. And unfortunately, people paint the picture when they start talking about, he's pro-Second Amendment. We've had a swath of gun control bills go through our state Senate and our Assembly, and essentially he vetoes half of them and signs the other half, and then proclaims, and runs on the fact that he's vetoed 5 of those bills and that he's a champion of the Second Amendment. At the end of the day, the real issue, beyond the permitting and the delays and all that, which are partially municipal, partially legislative, at the end of the day, the worst issue in New Jersey that keeps our citizens disarmed is a clause called justifiable need. It's a catch-all legislative clause that permits judges in the Superior Court to deny people for any reason by saying that they don't have enough of a justifiable need to have a carry permit. And using self-defense as a reason for your application is not sufficient, which is sort of what Alexander was alluding to before. Christie has the ability to go to his Attorney General and say, look, we are going to issue an interpretation of justifiable need via executive order and say that self-defense is an acceptable reason to get these applications. Just like he did with Shaneen Allen, the woman from Philadelphia who was arrested, I believe, a year or two ago, Alexander? Was that last summer? Oh, sorry, I think Alexander's on mute here. But she was arrested for bringing a weapon into New Jersey, carrying and admitting to a police officer that she was carrying during a traffic stop, and then was subsequently arrested due to our carry laws. And Christie was able to go to the Attorney General, put her through pretrial intervention, and get her out of that mess. So we don't understand why he can't do the same for this justifiable need clause. It's that he doesn't want to. But to answer your question, he's running for President of the United States. And if he wants to fare well in more freedom-embracing and liberty-loving states like New Hampshire and caucus states like Iowa that are more socially conservative, he knows he has to come to the right on these issues. So it's all a ruse. And here in New Jersey, we're still suffering, and people like Carol Bound, unfortunately, are still dying because of these laws.
All right, gentlemen, hang on. We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. This is Grok Talk. We'll be right back.